coward is defined as a person who lacks the courage to act honestly or openly, a person who hides behind others, a person who whispers accusations but never signs their name. Cowardice is not simply fear. Fear is human. Cowardice is something else entirely. Cowardice is when someone possesses power, authority, wealth, influence, and still refuses to stand behind their own words. History is filled with lions, people who stood alone, spoke clearly, and accepted the consequences of truth. But history is also filled with something else. Men who wear the costume of lions while roaring through messengers. In The Wizard of Oz, the cowardly lion desperately wants the world to believe he is brave. He roars loudly. He poses dramatically. But when the moment comes to stand alone, the roar becomes a whisper. The lion becomes a courier of fear. And this is where our story begins. For generations, the British monarchy has maintained a myth called never complain, never explain. It sounds noble, stoic, almost heroic. But myth, when examined closely, often collapse under the weight of evidence, because the modern monarchy does speak constantly, just not directly. Instead, the words travel through royal biographers, anonymous palace sources, and friendly newspapers and commentators and reporters. Whispers carried by others, insults delivered by proxy, accusations spoken through the mouths of men and women who claim to know private conversations. And when challenged, well, silence.
Meghan is an agent of poison. She is a person who has absolutely remorseless in her hatred if she doesn't decide that someone should be neutralized and destroyed, the Sussexes.
Recently, another example arrived. A new book by royal biographer Tom Bower, titled Betrayal, Power, Deceit, and the Fight for the Future of the Royal Family. Excerpts published in British newspapers repeat a familiar narrative. That Meghan Sussex brainwashed Prince Harry. That Harry abandoned friends and family. That their work is self-promotion. The same script rewritten again. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex responded directly through their spokesperson, calling the claims deranged conspiracy and accusing the author of long crossing the line from criticism into fixation. That distinction matters. One side speaks openly, the other speaks through shadows. Consider the structure. A biographer publishes alleged private conversations. A supposed friend of a royal claims something was said behind closed doors. Perhaps a remark from a stepmother. Perhaps a concern from a brother. Perhaps a worry from a future king. But the royal principles themselves, they never confirm, never deny, never stand behind the accusations. The insult floats through the air like perfume. Everyone smells it, but no one claims ownership of it. The technique is not accidental. It is strategic. If the claim proves useful, it spreads. If it proves embarrassing, it disappears. And the palace can always retreat behind the same sentence. We do not comment on biographies. Convenient. Very, very convenient. Because the narrative still travels the world. But the responsibility never arrives at the palace gates. And so we return to our word, coward. Coward. A coward does not necessarily lack influence. Often the coward has enormous power. But courage requires something more difficult than power. Courage requires ownership, the willingness to say, I, yes, I said that. Yes, those are my words. Yes, I stand behind them. The Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, chose a different path. When he had grievances, he wrote them in his own book. He placed his name on the cover. He spoke in interviews. He testified in court about the harassment he and his wife endured, describing the media's relentless campaign that made his wife's life an absolute misery. Agreed or disagree with him, the words belong to him. That is what courage looks like. That is courage. But cowardice has another companion, distraction. Because while the newspapers repeat yet another Sussex narrative, another royal scandal sits quietly in the background. Prince Andrew. Yes, that's his name. Prince Andrew. His association with Epstein, photographs, emails, testimony, questions that have never fully been answered. The monarchy's most serious reputational crisis in decades. And yet, coverage repeatedly pivots away from that scandal towards the same familiar target. Harry, Meghan, especially Meghan. The convenient villains. Observers have noted how media narratives often redirect attention from institutional problems towards Sussex-focused drama. A spectacle, a diversion, a louder roar from the cowardly lion. And so the pattern continues. A book appears, anonymous sources whisper, headlines explode, and somewhere in the shadows, powerful figures watch silently, never confirming, never denying, never signing their names. Cowardice is not the absence of strength. It is the refusal to use strength honestly. It is the habit of attacking through intermediaries, of leaking rather than speaking, of smearing rather than confronting, of whispering rather than standing in the light. And perhaps that is the great irony of this royal drama. The monarchy celebrates bravery in ceremony. Yes, uniforms and medals and parades. But courage does not live in uniforms. It lives in truth. It lives in accountability, in the willingness to speak plainly and stand by what is said, without courtiers, without sources, without shadows. Because, in the end, history remembers the lions, but it always recognizes the cowards. And the difference between them is simple. One speaks with his own voice. The other sends messengers to speak for him, pretending to have a roar. Roar. Coward. And so we return to the word coward. Not the person who feels fear. Fear is human. No. The coward is the person who holds immense power, yet refuses the courage of honest speech. Because courage is not measured by titles, crowns, or palace balconies. Courage is measured by something far simpler: the willingness to stand behind your own words. Today we are told often and loudly about the importance of mental health, about the need for men to speak openly, about the courage required to repair relationships. It is a message repeated frequently by the future king, a noble message, a necessary message. But words about healing carry weight only when they are practiced at home. Prince Harry has said publicly and repeatedly that he remains open to speak with his family. And yet, through royal reporters and palace-adjacent biographies, the public hears another message entirely: that reconciliation is unwelcomed, that the door remains closed, that the brother who once walked beside him is now a stranger. Not spoken directly, but whispered through intermediaries. And that is the quiet tragedy of it all. Because leadership, true leadership, requires something greater than pride. It requires humility. It requires courage. It requires the strength to face uncomfortable truth, face to face. Not through books, not through sources, not through shadows. History is patient. It listens. And in the end, it always records the difference between those who spoke plainly and those who let others speak for them. because lions use their own voices. Only cowards send messengers.